Terrifier 3 is the latest film by Damien Leone, special effects veteran and blood and guts aficionado. I was lucky enough to see this film last night, and I just figured I'd share my thoughts. I had only seen the first Terrifier years ago. It's a hard film to forget for obvious reasons, and for those same reasons I didn't feel very compelled to see the sequel, so I didn't. As far as I know, those first two films were straight-to-streaming callbacks to an earlier era when Hollywood was content to push out sequel after sequel of schlocky slasher nonsense. The only reason I've seen Terrifier 3 is because a friend of mine, who's a fan of such schlock, invited me to go see it with him and some coworkers. The idea of going to see such a nutty, gruesome gore fest in an actual theater instantly excited me, so I graciously accepted the invitation to join. Chances are good that if the film had not received a theatrical release, I would have never given it a second thought. So how was my theater-going experience, seeing Art the Clown's third Vendible outing? Well, it was hilarious, and maybe even a little bit exhilarating. In short, it was a lot of fun, and I found more here to appreciate than I thought I would. Namely, the film's religious dedication to old-school practical special effects. Damien Leone has a very obvious reverence for the work of FX master Tom Savini, who I was so delighted to see cameo in this funny little bloodbath that I couldn't help but yelp out his name as soon as his face popped up on screen. I'm not sure I've ever been more rowdy in a movie theater before. Many of the brutal murders had me laughing and hollering with an electrifying sense of shock and delight. Anyone who's seen the original Terrifier will remember one deservedly infamous scene involving a naked woman and a hacksaw, and while I'm not sure the series will ever reach that incredibly high bar again, there is at least one scene in the film that comes very close to it. If I have an issue with this film, it would be the boring B-plot concerning the girl from Terrifier 2, coming home from the Laughing Academy since the events of the last film to finally be with her family again 5 years later. Perhaps it's because I skipped that film, but it all seemed very inconsequential to me, and it got in the way of what I was really there to see. However, before the film started, I was afraid at some point my eyes would glaze over and I just want the movie to end. But that didn't happen, and I think it's owed to the B-plot pacing out the film, as formulaic and uninspired as it is. However, I also think that that's just kind of a par for the course with this genre, you know? The final act of the film hints at something very reminiscent of the ending of Evil Dead 2, but to my disappointment, it feels like it backs out at the last second from ending things in a way as bombastic as that, in favor of an easy setup for more and more sequels. I am not sure how many more of these movies Damien Leone has in him, and while I would honestly prefer he'd break out into a new IP, as long as these movies are being put out in theaters and I got buddies to watch them with, my ass will be in that seat hooting and hollering. But at the same time, I can easily see this shit getting real old real fast. But that's never stopped the industry before. All in all, I had a great time, and that's really all it was going for. Good on you, Damien. I think you hit the nail on the head. A postmodern slasher serial with countless sequels for a new generation of gore junkies.